We are beginning tonight's Shiur in Siman Kuf Chav Ches. We left off in the middle of Sif Mem Daled. We are on the last line of page 18. We're in the middle of the Ramah. The Ramah is about to switch gears. We discussed last night in the beginning of Sif Mem Daled about a Kohen who is not married, about duchening or not. And as we know, the minhag is to yes duchen. And now in the last three words of page 18, the Ramah tells us, Nogu b'chol medinos elu she'enos in Kapaim ela b'yom tov. Our minhag in all of our countries, all the Ashkenazi countries, is that we do not duchen except on Yom Tov. Mishum sha'osh shuyim b'simchas Yom Tov, because that's when we are enjoying the simcha of Yom Tov. V'tov lev hu yivarich, and as we mentioned last night, the good heart, he gives the bracha. Therefore, the Kohanim on Yom Tov are in the proper mindset to give the birchas Kohanim. Masha'en came b'shar yomim, which is not the case on other days. Afilu b'Shabbosos Hashana, even on Shabbos, shetrudim b'Yehurim al mechyasam, because the other days of the year, even on Shabbos, the Kohanim are bothered by thoughts about their parnasa, v'al bitul malachtam, and on their lack of working. Afilu b'Yom Tov ein osin Kapaim ela b'tfilas musaf. It says the Ramah further, even on Yom Tov when we do duchen, we only duchen by tfilas musaf. Sheyotzim oz mi beis hakneses v'yismuchu b'simchas Yom Tov. That's when we're already headed towards the end of davening, and we're ready to have our suda, our simchas Yom Tov. So then the Kohanim are in the proper mindset to give the bracha, and they are b'simcha. The Ramah then says, v'chol shachris u'musaf she'ein osin bo Kapayim. Any shachris and musaf tefillah when we are not duchening. Omer Asher Tzibur Elokeinu v'Elokei Avosenu Kedol El Sof Siman Kuf Chav Zayim. Then the Chazan will say Elokeinu v'Elokei Avosenu, like we discussed earlier. The Yom Kippurim Nosim Bo Kapayim Kitmo B'Yom Tov. The Ramah then says that on Yom Kippur we duchen like on Yom Tov. That's at Musaf. V'yesh mekomo shenosim bo kapayim b'ne'ilah. There are places where they duchen as well by ne'ilah of Yom Kippur. V'yesh mekomos afilu b'shachris, and there are places that duchen even on shachris of Yom Kippur. So let's begin the Mishna Berura back on page 18, the last lines of Kotan Kuf Samach Daled. The first thing the Ramah told us was in all of these medinos we only duchen on Yom Tov. U'be'eretz Yisrael u'b'chol malchus Mitzrayim haminog lisa kapayim b'chol yom. In Eretz Yisrael and the lands of Mitzrayim around it, the minhag is to duchen every day. The poskim kilsu l'minhagim bazeh. The poskim praise them for this minhag. We don't have that minhag, but they're praised for that minhag that they are duchening every single day. Sivkoton kuf samechei ela b'yom tov. So we said we in our medinos only duchen on Yom Tov mishum, and the reason we brought down was because that's when we're shari b'simcha, and this is bein shechal b'chol o b'Shabbos. So we duchen on Yom Tov, whether Yom Tov falls during the week or Yom Tov falls on Shabbos. V'yesh mekomo shenohagin she'ein nosim kapayim afilu b'Yom Tov k'shechal b'Shabbos. There are places where they don't duchen on Yom Tov when Yom Tov falls on Shabbos. Aval ein minhag ze ikar klal, but that is not the proper minhag. The minhag is that we follow is that we duchen always on Yom Tov, whether it is a weekday Yom Tov or it is a Shabbos Yom Tov. K'moshe kasu harbi achronim, like many achronim write. We'll finish this Mishna Berura and then we'll see a few very important notes. Nogu ha-kohanim sulsul bi'atzmam. The kohanim are noeg a certain ma'ila in themselves. Litbo bi-erev Yom Tov mishum Nesias Kapaim shalomachar. That the kohanim go to the mikvah on erev Yom Tov because of the duchening they're going to do on Yom Tov. And anyway, there is a mitzvah for a person to purify himself before the regel by going to the mikvah. So even though that is the minhag, l'maisa, it's not ma'akev if the kohen does not go to the mikvah on erev Yom Tov. So I want to see the notes over here that discuss a few important points. Number one is note number 171, which will address why is it that some places have a minhag not to duchen when Yom Tov falls on Shabbos. Why should Yom Tov falling on Shabbos be different than Yom Tov falling during the week? So if you look at 171, he writes, Ubebir deyazu kasa b'Shar Tzion. The Shar Tzion writes here in Sivkot and Kuflam Bais at length, Shechosheshim she'ein Nesias Kapaim lebali kriyan. They're choshesh that maybe there's no duchening for someone who's a bal keri. Ve'ein rotzim levatel onasam. And we know there's a mitzvah of ona to have beer with one's wife on Friday night. They don't want to be mevatel the mitzvah of ona, and they're not able to go to the mikvah on Shabbos, and therefore that's why there's no duchening when Yom Tov falls on Shabbos. Va'od bir ha-Magen Avram. The Magen Avram explains further b'tam hadavar, another reason why some would not duchen when Yontif falls on Shabbos. Shekevan shalachar birchas kohanim yesh lomar tchinas Ribono shel Olam. As we're going to discuss in greater detail in the coming shiurim, that we say the tefillah of Ribono shel Olam during the birchas kohanim. Ukefi shekasel ha-Shulchan Aruch l'kamal l'Shulchan Aruch will tell us shortly in Siman Kuf Lamed. Ub'Shabbos ein omrim tchinos. On Shabbos we don't make bakashos, and therefore we can't say that tefillah on Shabbos. Ukemoshe pasuk mishabur sham lefika nogu shelo loses kapaim klal v'ikr. Therefore on Shabbos some have a minhag not to duchen at all, because since you can't say the tefillah, therefore they don't duchen at all. Ule'inyan Yom HaKippurim shechal b'Shabbos. What about when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos? So Rav Moshe says, Nesias Kapaim. Then everyone would agree that you would duchen, even though Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos. And you should scream at those who make a mistake and say the Kohanim should not duchen when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos. Why? One of the reasons we just mentioned why you don't duchen when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos is on Shabbos we don't say techinos, we don't make bakashos. Lo shab Yom HaKippurim sharei zeh Yom Tchino Bakasha. Yom Kippur is a day of Tchino Bakasha, so that reason certainly would not apply. V'chein tam hatfila lo shayach bo. And even the reason for the fact that you can't go to the mikvah, you don't want to be mevatel the owner of Friday night, and therefore you don't duchen when Yom Tov falls on Shabbos, that's not okay on Yom Kippur either. Sharei kfar tovlu ha-kohanim be'er Yom Kippur. They went to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur. Tashrish Hamita is also on Yom Kippur, so the whole concern about being a Balkari is not a problem, because you already went to the mikvah before Yom Kippur, and there's no owner on Yom Kippur, and therefore, since it says of Moshe, both reasons for those who don't duchen when Yom Tov falls on Shabbos don't apply when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos, and therefore you would duchen even according to them when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos. Of course, the Mishnah Berura did say that our minhag is not like that, and we duchen every Yom Tov even if it does fall on Shabbos. I want to look at the next note, number 172. This is going on that which the Ramah said, that the Kohanim are noeg and Maila, that they're tovel on Erev Yom Tov because of the duchening the next day. V'zeu echad ha'ta'amim shekaso ha'ma'aril l'mina chutz la'aretz she'ena nosim kapayim el b'yom tov. This is a reason the Ma'aril brings down of why in chutz la'aretz we don't duchen except on Yom Tov, and that's because the minhag is that they go to the mikveh each time. I guess it would be too much to go to the mikveh every single day, to duchen every single day. V'od shnei ta'amim kasav shan. The Ma'aril writes two other reasons why we don't duchen every day in chutz la'aretz. Aleph mishum bitul mulacha kemavur b'Mishnah Berura kan. One is for Bitul Malacha, which we'll discuss in the Mishnah Berura in a moment, which the Ramah brought over here as well. And Bais, Mishum Shahayu Nimtzoim Goyim Bebeis HaKnesses. Two is because there were Goyim found in Shul. Now, why would Goyim being found in Shul prevent Nesias Kapaim? So I was thinking the Pshat is like the Gemara in Megillah. The Mishnah at the end of the third parak in Megillah says that when you lane the Birchas Kohanim, even though they used to translate the laning, you lane it but you don't translate it. And the Gemara explains because of Yisa. And Rashi explains, Yisa Hashem Ponav Elecha means Hashem should show you favoritism. And Rashi explains, we don't translate it because there are Goyim in Shul, and the Goyim are going to feel bad. Why is Hashem showing favoritism towards the Yidden? So therefore you see over there also that there's an idea that the Goyim were found in Shul, just like over there on Shabbos when we're relating the Parshas Naso, we're not going to say the Targum because of the Goyim. Here the Ma'aril says another reason we won't duchen is because the Goyim are there. We don't want them to hear about Hashem's favoritism towards Klal Yisrael. Says note number 173. The Mishnah Berura then said, besides the Kohanim going to the mikvah for the Birchas Kohanim, Stam there's the mitzvah to be mitar oneself beregel. Says note 173, the afal pi shein olam la regel. There's an inyan of being mitar for the regel, even though we don't have the mitzvah nowadays of alil regel. V'chein kasav prisha. And so writes the prisha, shegam bizman hazeh chayiv adam mitar sasma beregel. Even nowadays there is a chiyuv to go to the mikvah before the regel. Omnam, however, Hashar Tshuva Kosav Shebizman Hazeh Ein Chiyuv Lasos Kain. The Shar Tshuva says nowadays there is no chiyuv of being matar for the regel. Keivan She'ein Olan La Regel LaKabelas Pnei Shechina. We don't have the mitzvah of Aliyah regel nowadays, and therefore you are not chayiv to go to the mikveh before the regel. Ach Sayim Shemikol Makom Tov Linokach. However, the Shar Tshuva does say, there's no chiyuv, but Stam, it is a good idea to do it. So even he says it's a good idea. Says the Mishnah Berura Vaitis Ekonon Kusam B'Chvav. We said the reason why we are doing Birchas Kohanim on Yom Tov is that we're shuyim b'simchas Yom Tov. Zakta Mishnah Berura u'b'yom HaKippurim gam kein nosin kapayim sheyesh bo simchas mechila uslicha. On Yom Kippur there's also simcha. It's not the simcha of rejoicing like a regular Yom Tov that we're eating through the through the food and the drink, but rather because of the mechila and slicha that we get on Kippur. That brings us simcha. Sifkoton Kuf Samech Zayin. We have to just read one small part of the Ramah again before we could read this and appreciate the Mishna Berura. The Ramah said that on other days of the year, even on Shabsos Hashana, we don't duchen shetrudim b'hirhurim al mechyasam v'al bitum malachtam. So it sounds like the reason is because we're torrid in the thoughts of parnasa and on the lack of work. So says the Mishna Berura, haloshem megumgum. This lashon is a little bit not correct. V'chas v'shalom Yisrael kedoshim. Chas v'shalom, to say that Klal Yisrael is kedoshim. Yitztaru b'Shabbos al bitul malachtam. They're going to be bitzar because they can't go to work b'yom hakadosh. That they can't go to work on Shabbos. What do you mean al bitul malachtam? That they can't go to work? They're bitzar. Chas v'shalom. V'hanochon shetzarach lomar. What it really means to say is not like the lashon sounds. The al bitul malachtam, that they're torah because of the bitul malacha, rather ubishvil bitul malachtam. It's a whole new category. One is the torah behehurim al mechyasam, and number two is because of the bitul malacha. V'koi tamzeh al hodel la'el sheinosim Kapaim mishayomim. And that idea that because of bitul malacha there's no duchening, that's going back on what we said earlier, by other days of the week, other days of the year, not Shabbos. During the regular days of the week that we can't duchen, the reason is because of bitul malachtam. On Shabbos, the reason we don't duchen is tam because they're shudim be'ahurim al mechyasam. Nothing to do with going to work. Tam, they're worried about their parnasa, but they're not feeling bad that they're missing out on work that day. They just tam have thoughts about their parnasa. V'chein palginu b'darchei Moshe shekasatam. And so too the Darchei Moshe separates these two reasons, and it says it like this: L'fi shet shudim be'ahurim. He brings this reason that they're torah in their thoughts. Lahod de'inosin Kapaim b'Shabbos. That's the reason why you don't duchen on Shabbos, because they have the thoughts about their parnasa. V'ayimos hachol kasav, and on the days of the week, he writes, hatam mishum bitul malacha. There the reason is because of bitul malacha. And some there happens to be machlokas. What does it mean that we don't duchen during the regular week because of bitul malacha? Is it that it's bitul malacha, we want to get to work and it extends davening too long? Or is it because of bitul malacha that causes a lack of simcha and therefore we can't duchen? If we're going to have the davening longer, so to make people unhappy and take away their simcha, so that is a machlokas over here, exactly what that means, mishum bitul malacha. But it comes out, the Mishna Berura is explaining based on the Darchei Moshe, that it's not because we're upset that we're not going to work. Yisrael Kedoshim, we're not upset we're not going to work. Yeah, we are having thoughts about parnasa, but we're not bitzar over not going to work on Shabbos. That's talking about during the week. That's the bitul malacha. Says the Mechaber Vayter Sif Mem Hey. Elu tevo sha'kohanim hofchim bahem l'darim l'tzafon. So we know the Kohanim are standing with their backs, when they face the Tzvi, where their backs are towards the Aron, towards the east, they're facing the west, and they sway back and forth by certain words from north to south. And those words are as follows: Yivarechacha v'yishmerecha, Eilecha v'chuneka, Eilecha l'cha and shalom. By those words, the Kohanim go and move their hands back and forth from north to south. The Ramah says, V'nohagin shemarichin benigun elu tevos. The minhag is that they elongate the tunes by these words. Ki kol achas mehen hu sof bracha b'fnei atzma. Each one of these words mentioned is the end of a bracha on its own. Now we have to explain that because we know Birchas Kohanim is really three brachos. The Mishna Berura will address that. I was saying each one is the end of a bracha on its own. V'omrim ribon kemosh mefurish b'siman kuf lamed. And the Tzibur says that tefillah of ribon, like will be explained in Siman Kuf Lamed, and the Mishna Berura changes the girsa here a little bit. He says, "Va'omrim ribon kemosh mefarish v'Siman Kuf Lamed b'shah shemarichin b'nigun hatevo shebesof hapsukim." While the Kohanim are elongating the nigun of the words at the end of each pasuk, tahainu v'yishmerecha v'chuneka and shalom. So that's when the Tzibur is going to say ribon. We'll stop on top there for tonight, and we'll see the Mishna Beruras, and we'll pick up from there tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem. The Mishna Berura says over here in Sifkaton Kuf Sameches. So he said, by these few words that we mentioned, the Kohanim are swaying back and forth between the north and the south. The reason why they are knowing to do this, they want to spread out, spread the wealth, and include everyone in the tzibur in their bracha, so they go from north to south to try to get everyone ki'ilu under their hands. The Ramah told us that the minhag is the marichin in the nigun of these words, because each one is the end of a bracha. Kosov be'el Yerabah b'shem Shuvas Beis Yaakov. Masha nohogim lenagin tevas v'yishmereh. That which they're noeg to sing the word v'yishmereh below chaf, without the chaf at the end. V'achar kach hakaf, and then they separate it, and then they say the chaf afterwards. V'chein osim b'vichuneka, and they do the same thing by the word vichuneka. Who toast, that's a mistake. The dafkud b'sof marich. You can only be marich and elongate the word at the end of the word, not in the middle of the word and chopping up the word. The kodem shemesayim lo mashma kavonas hateva klal. Because if you're going to elongate the word in the middle before you finish it, it's not mashma that you're mechavim for that word at all. V'chein hachazonim yizaru shelo yichalku hatevos hashtayim. Not only kohanim, but also any chazan that's davening, and he wants to sing a song, he has to be careful not to be splitting the word in two. Sifkoton kuf ayin ki kol achas mehen. We said again in the Ramah that each one of these words is sof bracha b'fnei atzma. Says the Mishna Berura, hu tam gam al divrei ha-mechaber. This is also a reason for the mechaber why they're going in those words, and they're going back between north and south, because, as we say, each one is the end of a bracha. V'akavana, the intention is the afagav de shalosh brachos havim birchos kohanim. Even though, as we know, birchos kohanim really consists of 3 brachos. Mikol makom b'chol bracha b'fnei atzma yesh ba shtei brachos. Really, each bracha on its own really consists of 2 brachos. Tahainu yivarechacha Hashem bracha achas. The bracha, when we say bracha Hashem, that the Mefarshim, most Mefarshim, there are some machloksim, but in general, Rashi says, others say that Hashem should bless you with parnasa, with good when it comes to Gashmias. V'yishmerecha's bracha shniya. V'yishmerecha means Hashem should guard that which you got in your bracha for Gashmias. Hashem should guard it, should be protected, it shouldn't be taken away. That's a separate bracha. That's bracha number 2. Ya'ir Hashem panav elecha. He bracha achas, that's also one bracha. That's a bracha that Mefarshim tell us is for ruchnius, it's for illuminated Torah and for ruchniistic things. The chuneka is bracha shniya, that we should find chen. We should find chen in people's eyes. That is the second bracha from the bracha of Ya'ir. And then Yisa Hashem panav elecha is bracha achas, that Hashem again should show you this favoritism. The yasem lecha shalom, and He should give you peace. Gam kein have a bracha achas, that's also one bracha. So we see each one is a bracha. Now the point over here that has to be addressed is that the Ramah said that we're nehogin to be marich all of these words because each one is a sof bracha b'fnei atzma. So the way we just explained it, it's true by yivarechacha, it's true by v'yishmerecha, it's true by elecha and v'chuneka, and it's true by elecha and shalom, but it's not true by the word lecha. Right? We just said the Yasem L'cha Shalom is a bracha b'fnei atzma, so the last word is Shalom, is not L'cha. So to that he brings the Magen Avram. Magen Avram Kosav Atam Shehofchin Pneim Be'elu Atevos. The Magen Avram brings another reason why they're turning their bodies during, or turning their arms at least during these words. Mishum dekol elu hatevos heim l'nocheach. All these words l'nocheach are towards the other person. Right? V'chuneka. Yivarechacha, they end with cha, towards you, directed towards another person. So these words are directed towards the tzibur, so they turn and face the entire tzibur. So some Mefarshim say that we really try to satisfy both. All the words that are lenochach, which includes lecha, we do the turning of the arms, and also whatever is the sof bracha, which is shalom. So with the 2 reasons together, we cover all the words of the mechaber. All the words are l'nocheach, which is yivarechacha v'yishmerecha, elecha v'chuneka, elecha, and lecha. And then the sof bracha would include also the word shalom. That's how some achronim are masbir, why we are turning, the kohanim are turning by all of these words. Says the Mishna Berura Vaitus of Koton Kuf Ayin Aleph. We said in the Ramah that we say ribon bisha'a shemarichim benigun, so tzarich lomar bisha'a. Here's the Mishna Berura changes the girsa. V'cheinu b'sifrei Shulchan Aruch Yeshanim. That's how it's brought down in the older version of the Shulchan Aruch as well. Benigun hatevos. So we said in the Ramah, we said bisha'a shemarichim benigun hatevos. We say the ribon while they are elongating the tune of the words at the end of the psukim. Hainu bisha'a shemarichim benigun havaras os achrona shel hatevos. According to the Ramah, this is not our custom. We say the Ribon, according to the Ramah, at the time that the Kohanim are marichin the nigun of the pronunciation of the last letter of the word. So it's while the Kohanim are actually saying the last word of the pasuk, and they're elongating the last the last part, that's when we say the ribon. Avalo be'esh she'omru ateva, not at the time that they're saying the regular word. Da'oz tzarech lishtok u'lechavin, because then you have to listen, be silent, and be bechavin what the Kohanim are saying. Kemo shekasav b'sif chavav, like it's written in Sif Chavav. I want to read an important Bir Halacha, which brings down our minhag of when we say the ribon. Says the Bir Halacha, b'shoshem arichim minigat tevos, I am Mishna Berura. Ubemedinoseinu nohogim hakol lomer haribon achar kriyas hamakre teva achrona shel kol pasuk. As we know, our minhag is that we say the ribon after the chazan or the makre says the last word. Right, v'yishmerecha, before the Kohanim say it, that's when we are saying the ribon. V'ha-Kohanim shoskim oz o menagnim. The Kohanim, during that pause, while we're saying the tefillah, are either silent or they're saying a niggin. Our minhag, obviously, is the Kohanim are singing a niggin while we're saying the ribon. V'achar shemesaymim ha-tzibur ha-ribon, and when the tzibur finishes saying that tefillah, mesaymim ha-Kohanim ha-teva ha-achrona, that's when the Kohanim finish up the last word of each bracha. There is a little bit of reasoning for this minhag that we do. That's the best way that we hear the whole word from the Kohanim. We say the tefillah of ribon first, and then when the Kohanim are saying v'yishmerecha, v'yichuneka, or shalom, we hear the entire word. The way the Ramah brought it down, we hear part of the word, but during the last pronunciation, we're already saying the ribon. We're not fully focused on the bracha of the Kohanim. So lefi our minhag, we hear the entire word of the Kohanim. That's the Maila. But then he writes, there's a little issue with the minhag that we have as well. And what's that? The Eshhefsek ben kriyas hamakre lamiras hakohanim. So you have the makre, the chazan, whoever is calling out the words, saying v'yishmerecha, and then you have a minute pause before the kohanim are repeating the word after the makre. Ubishlama kishemenagnim. Bishlama, if you do what we do, that the kohanim are not silent or at least singing a niggin. So efsher de gamzehu b'chlalas cholas amiras ateva, we could say that's really the beginning of the word. So they start to niggin, so there's not really a hefsek. They heard the word from the makre, and they go right into the niggin, which leads into the word. That would be okay. Aval k'sheshoskim ma'ikil ameimer. What are you going to say if the kohanim are sitting there silently? The chazan said shalom, and they're sitting there silently while the tzibur is saying ribon, and then they're going to say shalom afterwards. It's a long break. V'ayin la'el b'sif yud ches, where the mechaber said v'eina kohanim v'chuli. We said the Kohanim can't say each word until the Makre finishes the word. That's in the Gemara in Sota. Umashma miloshon zeh, the mashmos is the achar shekila hamakre takef tzrichim lanos. It's mashma from the Gemara that right after the Makre finishes the word, the Kohanim have to say it right away. There can't be a pause while the tzibur is saying ribon. V'chein b'shulchan aruch sif yud gimel. V'heim onim acharav al kol mila. They answer after him every word. Mashma did takev tzrichim lanos. It's mashma there also, says the Chavetz Chaim, that right away they have to answer. So he's bothered. How could it be that the kohanim are sitting there silently between the word of the makri while the tzibur is saying ribon before they finish up that word of the Beros Kohanim? U'be'emes halom mavur b'kamer rishonim detam kriyas hamakre hu shelo yitu. After all, the reason why we have a makri in the first place is they won't make a mistake. If they're going to pause for 90 seconds between the makri and they saying the word, so it doesn't accomplish what we want. If they wait, it's going to come to a mistake. And therefore, therefore the eighth of the Chavetz Chaim is at least the tzibur should say it fast. So the fi our minhag that we mamish do, that we have the kohanim are singing and they're menagin, he says it's no problem. That's considered them starting the word, but still, the svara he says when they're silent would apply to us also. If the whole point of the makre is the kohanim should respond right away, so they shouldn't make a mistake in the word. So it's true, maybe the niggin that they're saying is keilu they started the word now, so there's no hefsek. But l'maisa they might forget the word, so therefore it would be a good idea for the tzibur to say it rather quickly, for the niggin to go fast, so they could say the word and make sure they get the word of the makre. We'll stop here. We'll finish with the rest of Sif Mem Hey Emir Hashem tomorrow.